especially since, seeing that everybody in his team is on steroids, which means including him. So he never
responsible for the performance-enhancing drugs that are being used by fighters that fought in his gym. Specifically, off the top of my head, you have Canelo Alvarez. Canelo Alvarez had popped for clenbuterol.
Hello, man. I don't know if he's cheating.
What do you mean?
I feel like Canelo juices.
Boxing pros exposed Canelo Alvarez for using steroids ahead of the Terence Crawford fight, raising concerns about his sudden muscle growth and past failed PED tests. David Benavidez also steps in, questioning why Canelo avoids facing him if he's truly confident. He highlights that 5 members of Canelo's team tested positive for steroids, claiming the entire camp is dirty, including Canelo himself, fading weight to the accusations surrounding the upcoming fight.
Greatest Mexican boxing fights of all time, in my opinion.
Yeah.
So I feel like I'm 100% confident in myself. If Canelo was 100% confident in himself, I don't know why he wouldn't fight me, especially since, seeing that everybody in his team is on steroids, which means including him. So he never got off
You think he's on steroids?
Of course. Sure.
How
does 5?
You saw De La Hoya
How do 5 people out of your camp get tested positive for steroids?
Right.
You know what I mean? all those fucking dudes in that camp are dirty.
Yeah,
I seen Eddie Reynoso on my fight, so we made a joke. He said like he came to watch me the fight and shit.
So
and then they're like, "Oh, you think he's?" In my head, I'm like, "What do you think Eddie Reynoso's thinking about?" He's like, "Are we gonna fight David Benavidez after seeing this fight?" In his head, Eddie Reynoso was like, "Fuck no, we not fighting him."
Yeah, of course. Yeah, honestly, I don't blame Canelo. It's fucked up because there's a lot of money.
It's not even about the money. It's not about the money.
Yeah, but okay, 100 million, dude. You kidding me?
The first step when you're a fucking warrior, bro, the only thing you think about is glory. I've never thought about money. I've been smart. I'm negotiating my shit, but it's always a prize, bro. It's always, if I go out there and beat Canelo, bro, I'm a legend. You know what I mean? That I'm gonna live forever in boxing as a legend. That means way more to me than any type of money.
And I think that separates you too, David. And I admire that shit about you. I was like that at one point. Now how much you giving me?
Yeah.
and not to just bypass him. Shout out to Morel as well.
Yeah, shout out to
Morel.
Eddie Reynoso's gym has come under heavy scrutiny, with accusations that he personally supplies fighters in his camp with performance-enhancing substances. This includes Canelo Alvarez, who trains under Reynoso and has faced steroid allegations twice in the past. Critics point out that several fighters from the same gym have tested positive, raising suspicions about the training environment. As Canelo prepares for his fight with Terence Crawford, many are questioning how he continues to bulk up at such a rapid pace.
Pressed serious accusations about his gym. And the accusations are that people, or at least the implications are, that he is the one that is providing performance-enhancing drugs or is in some way responsible for the performance-enhancing drugs that are being used by fighters that fought in his gym. Specifically, off the top of my head, you have Canelo Alvarez. Canelo Alvarez had popped for clenbuterol 2 times. For Fahim Satur, I'll say that he did it 2 times, even though I think it was for the same fight. But Canelo Alvarez popped dirty for clenbuterol 2 times. You have Luis Nery, who had tested positive, but I think Luis Nery tested positive before he was with Eddie Reynoso. Then you have Ryan Garcia, who popped dirty after he left Eddie Reynoso and went over to Derek James. And then you have Oscar Valdez. Oscar Valdez popped dirty while he was with Eddie Reynoso, but at the time he was still allowed to fight. You also clearly see that you have an issue with the fight that's coming up with Canelo Alvarez and Terence Crawford, in that you have one guy that tested positive and you have another guy that looks like he's using in order to get up and continue to climb up weight classes. You know, at a certain point in time, and this is something that Rolly Romero had said, certain point in time, your body just doesn't do that. At a certain point in time, your body just doesn't do it. I'm 6'2", 200, and should weigh about 210. Closer to 250, but I should weigh about 210. I'm not going to get up if I was 210 now at 50 years old, I'm not. If by 55 years old, I'm not. The only way I'm going to get up to 260 of muscle is if I'm juicing.
Observers note that it's extremely difficult to gain large amounts of muscle naturally in your 30s. Yet Canelo's current physique appears significantly larger than before. This has only fueled further speculation, especially considering the history tied to Reynos's camp. Fans and analysts alike are beginning to wonder if Canelo's physical transformation is natural, or if it's another case of PEDs quietly shaping the outcome of major fights.
If for a 30-year-old, right, you remember, your body grows, men's body can grow in height and length up until to the extreme in your 20s. By the time you're 20, your height and all that stuff is there, right? Your height and your length. In your mid-20s, you know, by the time you're 29, your musculature is pretty much there. It gets harder to gain and put on muscle after 30. So Canelo Alvarez is about to fight a guy that is going to put on 20 pounds of muscle.
Joe Rogan's observations about Canelo Alvarez have sparked serious conversations across the boxing world. As a longtime commentator on physical performance and combat sports, Rogan pointed out how unusual it is to see someone in their 30s bulking up so rapidly. He emphasized that natural muscle growth slows significantly with age, yet Canelo has defied that trend. For Rogan, it's not just suspicion, it's science. His view is that such a sudden transformation isn't just difficult to achieve naturally, it's nearly impossible without assistance. When someone with Rogan's reach and understanding of elite conditioning raises doubts, people pay attention.
Fucking Canelo, man. I don't know if he's cheating.
What do you mean?
I feel like Canelo juices. But I'm a Triple G fan, so I'm a say that ahead of time. I just like Triple G.
There's a lot of money on the line, and if I could get away with it, I would do it as well.
Some tainted beefs.
I think, well, he definitely got busted once for something, but it could have been from tainted beef. We don't know. But it also could be that, you know, we should probably leave them the alone and let them do whatever they want to do. Do you want to see Manny Pacquiao fight or not? Right? I want to see him juiced up, fighting at 45 years of age, coming in with a full six-pack, lighting people on fire.
As the Canelo versus Terence Crawford fight draws closer, talk of steroid use is growing louder among fans and analysts. Many say they wouldn't be surprised at all if Canelo turned out to be using performance-enhancing substances. The reasoning is simple. He has access to the best facilities, nutritionists, doctors, and recovery tools that money can buy. And when someone has unlimited resources and the motivation to stay on top, the temptation to take shortcuts becomes very real. Critics believe the environment around Canelo gives him every opportunity to use banned substances without facing immediate consequences.
What up, everybody? It's your boy MC from MCTV. I wouldn't be surprised if Canelo Alvarez is on steroids right now as we speak and is going to be fully juiced with something that hasn't even hit the market yet. Think about it. He's pretty much a billionaire. He has access to everything.
Floyd Mayweather has never been one to hold his tongue, especially when it comes to Canelo Alvarez. He has brought up the issue of steroids before, stating outright that people are simply too afraid to address it. According to Floyd, there's a double standard in boxing where some fighters get a pass while others are heavily scrutinized. He believes Canelo falls into that protected category. Mayweather's view is that many in the industry, promoters, broadcasters, and fans avoid questioning Canelo because of his status and marketability. But Floyd isn't afraid to speak on it. He emphasizes that steroid use isn't just cheating, it's dangerous and threatens the integrity of the sport.
But what we don't talk about is, Canelo. Steroids. They don't talk about that. So we don't know. We really don't know all the fighters he beat. He could have been not clean in a lot of fights.
In the build-up to Canelo versus Crawford, the accusations haven't only come from analysts. Fans from both camps are at each other's throats, throwing around PED allegations. Crawford's supporters question Canelo's size and power, while Canelo's base doubts Crawford's endurance and transformation at a higher weight. The tension has grown so intense that both fighters agreed to undergo thorough PED testing leading up to the bout. These tests aren't just to satisfy the officials, they're meant to reassure the public. The fact that both sides felt pressured to confirm their clean status says a lot about the current state of trust in boxing. While fans are passionate, they also expect transparency, and the constant back and forth about PES has forced both teams to respond.
Canelo and Crawford are strictly and consistently doing random VADA testing in order to silence each other's fanbase and their critics ahead of their showdown this September. Now, despite this being a normal thing, the gravity of this fight brings in more attention to their test results, partly due to the fact that suspicion regarding both men have been up as of lately, namely Crawford's sudden bulk and jump to 168 and his close relationship with Snack and Victor Conti, and of course the recent PED scandals being associated with Team Canelo, as well as him once testing positive for clenbuterol 7 years ago due to contaminated meat. With that said, both men have been doing random testing since June and will undergo strict and consistent random tests up until they finally meet next month. Now, it's worth remembering that despite all the recent allegations for Canelo and Crawford, both fighters have been consistent.
Canelo Alvarez didn't always look like the powerhouse he is today. Early in his career, he was smaller, quicker, and fought more like a natural welterweight. But over the years, his transformation has been dramatic. Now, he's not just fighting bigger opponents, he's overpowering them. That shift has fueled a wave of speculation about how exactly he bulked up so effectively. Critics are asking whether this kind of growth is natural, especially given his age and the physical demands of the sport. While some attribute it to elite training and discipline, others remain unconvinced.
But I think you gotta lean more towards Canelo, because like I said before, he been putting big guys out and down, and Canelo not even really a 68 pounder. He probably really should be at 60 maybe, and he been hurting these guys. I think he be dropping these guys and things like that. So, and them guys be way bigger than him come fight night. I know that for sure. They be probably close to 200 pounds, and he dropping those guys like that. So, I don't know. It's gonna be a great fight. The fans want to see it. So, so be it. I think Crawford should take a warm-up fight. At like 60, or like at least at 60, just to get his body, to fill up somebody a little bit bigger, and things like that. I know when you go up a weight, you gotta, develop that power and not develop the power, but like put that muscle on and be heavier and things like that. So he might not want to take a fight because he's trying to build up right now. But I think he should, just to stay sharp and that way he don't have like a long layoff or anything like that.
Nico Ali Walsh, a rising figure in boxing and the grandson of Muhammad Ali, shared insightful views on Crawford's preparation for facing someone as big and strong as Canelo. Walsh emphasized that Crawford isn't blindly walking into a size disadvantage, preparing for it with care and intelligence. According to Walsh, Crawford has been sparring with much bigger fighters to adjust to the kind of power and pressure Canelo brings. He sees this approach not just as brave, but strategic. Walsh believes that turning risk into opportunity is what separates great fighters from good ones. By adapting his training to mirror Canelo's strengths, Crawford is sharpening the tools he'll need most in the ring. Walsh's perspective highlights the calculated nature of Crawford's camp. They know what they're up against, and they're not leaving anything to chance.
People with Canelo before Canelo's last fight, but then after Canelo's last fight, it seems like it's more 50-50 now. So everything is just the build up for that fight is just going to be absolutely magnetizing. Like that fight, it's garnered so much more buzz after Canelo's last fight, and Bud is Bud. He's one of the greatest fighters in boxing history. He is one of the greatest fighters in boxing history. So it's going to be a fight. It's going to be awesome to watch.
Have you sparred any of them?
I haven't sparred Bud yet. I haven't been in Canelo's camp. I've met Canelo a few times. I love Canelo's team. Canelo's one of my favorite fighters. He's been my favorite fighter for the longest time. But I have to be Team Bud because me and Bud are cool, and I have so much belief in Bud, and I know who he is as a fighter. He is one of the greats. So he could do anything he wants.
And being around both of them and seeing how they work and train and things like that, what makes both of them the fighters they are, in your opinion?
I've watched Bud, so for Bud in particular, he's calm in everything he does, and that kind of calm is scary to watch because it shows experience. You can see that he's been doing this for decades. You can see it with his shadow boxing. You can see it.
Respected boxing journalist Dan Rafael offered a clear explanation for why Crawford is taking this fight. To him, it's not about chasing a check, it's about chasing history. Rafael explains that Crawford wants to be remembered not just as a champion, but as a legend who took the biggest risks. This isn't a matchup made for safety, it's made for legacy. But Rafael also understands the enormous challenge ahead. Beating Canelo requires more than skill, it requires near perfection. Every mistake could cost Crawford the fight. From ring IQ to physical durability, everything must be on point. Asterisk.
I think Terence Crawford is a marvelous boxer, arguably the best in the world, pound for pound. But can you hurt Canelo? If you can't hurt him, I have no doubt he can outbox him. My issue is, if you can't hurt him, what kind of a challenge can you truly pose? What do you say to that?
No, that's a great point. I mean, here's the thing. Canelo Alvarez has a historically great chin. Now, I go back way back when he first came to the United States and started boxing, and he found himself on an HBO pay-per-view undercard years and years ago, fighting against the older brother of the great Miguel Cotto. His name was Jose Miguel Cotto, and he had gotten a ton of hype. He had signed with Golden Boy Promotions, and a lot of those of us in the media, and I had seen him a couple of times before that. This is my first time seeing him in person, really paying close attention, and he almost got knocked out in the first round. And I remember Stephen A., all of us looking around at Media Row going, what the heck is this all hype about? This man can't take a shot. He's going to get drilled. He was lucky that the fight was over, that the round was over in round one, or there might have been some much more trouble. Stephen A., that was like, I don't know, 16, 17 years ago. I've never seen him wobbled, rocked, physically, visibly hurt since then. He has an all-time great chin going in the ring with tremendous punchers. Terence Crawford coming up 2 weight classes. Do any damage? Yeah, he's a slick boxer, and he's also a good puncher in the welterweight division, in the junior welterweight division, in the lightweight division. But even at junior middleweight, which is where Terence Crawford had his most recent fight back in August, when he moved up and he won a world title, he didn't blow the doors off. He fought a very tough, solid opponent named Israel Madrimov. He gave him a good fight. It was very close. Madrimov's people seem to think he might have even been able to edge it out. But if you can't hurt an Israel Madrimov at 154, what the heck are you going to do with Canelo Alvarez, the sturdiest guy in the world, at 168? So that aspect of it is certainly a problem. You mentioned about Charlo. Charlo was there to get his check. I know one thing about Terence Crawford. He's not going to just come to turn up to get the check. He'll at least try. And Charlo, I don't think, really tried.
What sets Terence Crawford apart is his ability to control a fight without relying on brute force. He doesn't overpower opponents. He breaks them down with timing, skill, and intelligence. Whether fighting orthodox or southpaw, Crawford dictates the pace and forces his opponents to adjust to him. This kind of versatility makes him a nightmare for power-based fighters like Canelo. While Canelo may have the edge in size and raw strength, Crawford's mastery of distance and movement levels the playing field. His strategy will likely focus on avoiding risky exchanges and exploiting Canelo's slower footwork. Crawford's finesse isn't just a style, it's a weapon. And when facing someone known for knockout power, the ability to stay out of danger while scoring clean shots is essential. His adaptability makes him unpredictable, and unpredictability is something Canelo struggles with.
Weight bullies, it's somebody whose style is based around being the bigger guy, being the stronger guy. But Crawford is a very cerebral, very technical boxer, and I think that's why I'd never really considered this before. But also, I didn't actually realize until I sat down properly and thought about this, just how much weight Crawford has been piling on when he gets into the ring after the weigh-in. And look, these are not numbers that are out of the ordinary, but he's obviously cutting himself down so much in camp from whatever his walking around weight is. And it must be muscle that he's taking off. And perhaps that's why he's only fighting once a year, because there will be some fat, of course there will be, but the dude is not overweight. The dude still looks pretty ripped from what I've seen when he's not in training camp. However, there's not that many photos of him with his top off when he's not actually in training camp. So it's really hard to tell what his body composition is when he's walking around at these big weights. But the fact is, his fight night weight was 169 let's just call it 170 pounds, which is huge, absolutely huge for a 154 pounder. Especially, it's just shocked me that he's come up from 135 and now he's still putting on that much weight. He's rehydrating that much at 154. And indeed, to bring us even closer to the modern day, the thing that was posted, and again, this is the second time we've seen this, is why I'm kind of thinking there's a bit of a theme here with Crawford posting his weight when he's not actually in full training camp. On February the 9th, 2025, he posted an Instagram story and he showed himself weighing 186 pounds on a gym scale. Now, that's so much bigger than I imagined Crawford would be. I never thought this guy would walk around at 186 pounds. which for anyone who needs the conversion is just over 84 kilograms. And now look, it's not an unthinkable weight for someone, but for someone who has fought as low as Crawford has, who is generally as lean and as in shape as Crawford is, that's a lot of weight.
Marcus Brown, who has seen Crawford up close in the gym, confidently dismissed the idea that Crawford is intimidated by Canelo's size or strength. According to Brown, Crawford has long been sparring with larger fighters. Some built like heavyweight sand, has handled the pressure well. This experience, Brown insists, gives Crawford a level of comfort that most fans don't realize. He's already accustomed to absorbing bigger shots while still executing his game plan. Brown also notes that Crawford never looks flustered or panicked in these sessions. He remains calm, focused, and tactical. That mental toughness, combined with preparation, might be the key to withstanding Canelo's power.
I'm going with Crawford. Typically fighters, they don't want to say who they want to go for because, they don't want to be biased. Yeah. And much respect to Canelo, but I'm going Bud.
Is there a particular reason why? Like, you're a guy that's moved up in weight, so you know exactly what it feels like to get hit by these bigger guys. Is that something that's going to play in the back of his head? Like,
of course,
gotta watch out.
It is, but it's not. Because at the end of the day, it's not like he just been in there, got in there with somebody bigger than him. He's always probably been sparring with bigger guys. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. It's that boxing IQ, which William Skull didn't put up no fight, but he showed somewhat of a blueprint to get this guy, in a space where he's confused. Yeah. And he can't touch the target that's in front of him. Yeah. You know what I'm saying?
That's it for today's video. Stay tuned.